An unfortunate stop for Vice President JD Vance on his book promotion tour was Fox News' The Five. It wasn't unfortunate because of Greg Gutfeld's presence. It wasn't unfortunate because of Dana Perino. It wasn't unfortunate for him because of Jesse Waters. It was made unfortunate because of the presence of the lone liberal on The Five, Jessica Tarlov. Jessica Tarlov humiliated JD Vance. Now, listen, I understand the position she's in. When JD Vance shows up, just because she's on the left, she can't do everything she might want to do if it were not on Fox News. She still has to abide by some decorum and et cetera. But she does a very good job here of pointing to JD Vance all the ways in which this Iran deal is pathetic. And Vance really doesn't seem able to counteract any of the substance. Vance has media training. He's able to sort of try to deflect tangentially some of this stuff. But let's take a look at a little bit of these exchanges. These are very good.
Off as the Strait opens throughout the summer. So I think what Jessica really wants to say is thank you.
Jessica, do you want to say thank you?
Thank you for being here. It's very, very cool to have you with us, especially when we're discussing this topic that you're running point on. And I'm a little uncomfortable about what I'm about to do, but I've been amping myself up all day.
No.
So, no, it's not.
Call the Secret Service.
No, they're already here, like 50 of you. You know, there's been leaked versions of this MOU, not just in the Iranian press, in the Saudi press, the Pakistani press. The American press has gotten their hands on some details as well. You know, the Wall Street Journal has it that Iran can immediately sell oil and that they're going to get some sanctions relief right off the bat. That was something that we heard was not going to happen. So they have an incentive to get this going by Friday, and there's going to be money changing hands. In the copies of the MOU that we've seen, again, leaked, we have this $300 billion fund. And I saw you last night, you were with Sean talking about it. He said, well, it's not our money. It's, you know, Gulf nation money, our partners' money, but that's still a $300 billion payday. And that's something that they desperately want to have. The punting on the nuclear program for the 60-day negotiation, you know, that's the real tough stuff of this, right? Like, that's the meat of what we really need to get done. And you say the JCPOA, you know, didn't have anything about that. It's in the preamble of the JCPOA that Iran will cease all efforts to have a nuclear weapon, and enrichment will be held at about 3%.
Well, they can't enrich now because they can't get the dust, Jessica.
Also,
Barack Obama never buried it.
Well, the vice president is here. Don't interrupt me, and then it'll be over really fast.
Okay.
My part.
I wasn't interrupting him. I was interrupting you.
I meant me. Be polite for our guests.
Waters realizes, oh boy, she has the facts here. She is pointing out that there is this other thing. We're not comparing this MOU to nothing. We're not comparing this MOU to an unfettered Iran. We're comparing this MOU to the one we had that Trump got out of. And this is a major political problem for them because they keep acting as though the JCPOA was basically nothing. It had nothing meaningful to say about Iran's nuclear ambitions. It didn't do anything. And Jessica Tarlov points out the agreement specifically addressed enrichment. It specifically included containment commitments. It included Iran's not pursuing a nuclear weapon. And JD Vance pivots here. We're going to watch it. He pivots to, oh, you learned that from the Wall Street Journal? Classic move.
You know, there's been leaked versions of this MOU, not just in the Iranian press, in the Saudi press, the Pakistani press. The American press has gotten their hands on some details as well. You know, the Wall Street Journal has it that Iran can immediately sell oil and that they're going to get some sanctions relief right off the bat. That was something that we heard was not going to happen. So they have an incentive to get this going by Friday, and there's going to be money changing hands. In the copies of the MOU that we've seen, again, leaked, we have this $300 billion fund. And I saw you last night, you were with Sean talking about it. He said, well,
And let me skip forward because we heard a bunch of this already. So let's actually get to JD Vance's part on it.
Absolutely address a couple of things, because I think you're making the same mistake, unfortunately, that a lot of the Iranian propagandists make when they talk about this,
Like
which
the
is
Wall Street Journal?
they talk about the benefits to the Iranians without any of the things the Iranians would have to give up and have to change in order to get those benefits. So you mentioned a $300 billion fund. I got to be very clear about this. Not a single cent of American money under any circumstance, no matter what the Iranians do, goes to Iran. Not a single cent of
but
American
they get
money.
other money.
Here's what this says. This says, for example, let's say that the United Arab Emirates, who have been a great ally, let's say they want to invest in a power plant in Iran. What this deal provides is that if the Iranians have done everything we require them to do, then we will allow the United Arab Emirates to do that. Because they can't do that right now without American approval. So we're fundamentally saying if the Iranians transform how they interact with the world, we will transform how the world economy interacts with Iran.
He wants to play a game where he goes, the money isn't coming from the United States. If the United States is approving of funds going to Iran, it is in essence the United States enabling Iran to have the money. They never would have accepted that explanation in the Obama deal, ever, ever, ever. But their standards are different when it is Trump. The weirdest moment of this entire thing is when Vance goes, if Trump were elected supreme leader of Iran, the Democrats would still say the United States lost. Huh?
Okay, and again, lots of criticism from the Republican side of this as well. It is a bipartisan concern.
Well, I think, look, some of the criticism comes from the fact that if Donald Trump were elected the supreme leader of Iran, the Democrats would still say that the United States had lost this. There is a fundamental refusal to acknowledge how much has changed in the Middle East over the last few months.
What does that even mean? Like, what is he, would that be the greatest victory? Is Vance going, there could be no greater victory than Trump becoming the leader of Iran. And even if that happens, Democrats would still say we lost. The supreme leader is the person the United States has spent years describing as the central authority of the adversarial regime. The hypothetical is ridiculous, but it avoids the issue, which is not about whether Democrats like Trump. There are two questions. Number one, if this deal is so awesome, why do so many Republicans think it's trash? And number two, is the deal stronger than what we had? Because we are comparing it to an existing deal, getting out of which has caused significant financial expense to the United States. It has led to people dying. It has put us in another war. And what we're seeing when we just look at before and after, Obama deal, after getting out of the Obama deal, but before getting into the war, after getting into the war, Iran's circumstances seem to only improve. And the United States' circumstances seem to only be diminished in how useful and positive they are for everyday Americans. Vance is prepared for this stuff, but he doesn't really deflect it in a substantive way. This is going to be a major problem for Republicans, especially if the deal ends up looking like the letter. If you're trying to get away from cigarettes or vaping, one of the first practical questions is what you replace them with, especially if you're not ready to eliminate nicotine immediately. Check out our sponsor, Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zippix uses quality plant-derived nicotine with a very short list of ingredients. It gives you another option for managing nicotine with no smoke or vapor. Zippix comes in 6 flavors. There's 2 or 3 milligram options, lets you control the nicotine as compared to a cigarette or vape. They're also easy to use throughout the day and in places where smoking or vaping isn't allowed, or it would require you to step out conspicuously for a cigarette, which can cause other problems. Zippix also offers caffeine and B12 toothpicks if you're reducing nicotine altogether or don't even use it at all. If you're tired of cigarettes or vaping, try Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks and get 10% off your first order with code Pakman at zippixtoothpicks.com. The link is in the description. You must be 21 or older to order. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.